Hello, I'm Deanna Herron, host of the Deanna Herron Podcast Show. Have you ever wanted to do something bold, like start a business, write a book, or go for your dream job? This show was created for women just like you who want to be bold, shine bright with grace. My goal is to educate you, inspire you, and empower you with ideas that can transform your life. Be inspired by the Deanna Herron Podcast Show at deannaherron.net. Hello and welcome to the Deanna Herron Podcast Show. This is Deanna Herron, your host. I'm excited to continue our Rise Up series. If you have tuned in the last few weeks, I've been talking about what it takes for you to rise up into your greatness. A few things that we can look for that maybe we're not used to seeing in our series of Rise Up or as we are stepping into our own greatness. One of those is discouragement. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back and listen. If you're feeling discouraged right now, I want to encourage you to rise up. Those are just seasons. I just want you to know that. So discouragement is a season. The second part of Rise Up was you're a masterpiece. Just really, I go in and I dive into the masterpiece within you. Number 3 was being authentically you. And last week we talked about trusting yourself. Sometimes we're so busy being busy that we forget to sit still and listen to the one who knows all the answers. And that one is inside you. So we're going to continue on with the Rise Up series today. And we're going to talk about distractions. And boy, I'm going to tell you, I know distractions. Distractions can get in our way so easily. They can keep you from going down that trail, that journey of your greatest self. And so in achieving your goal, I just want you to know we must shut out all of the distractions that are keeping us continuing on that journey to rising up to who we were created to be. So I'm going to give you some tips on what successful people do. Okay. Successful people are laser focused. They're laser focused. And so what I mean by that is focus is saying no to all the good ideas that come our way. We have so many good ideas. I have so many good ideas. And I know you guys can relate to that. There are times when things come in and people recommend things. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is a good idea. But the good ideas keep us from the one thing that is going to bring us to our greatness. Successful people have the ability to say no to the unimportant. And that's what I mean by being focused. We have the ability to say no to some of the important things that pop into our life. I get asked all the time to speak, to attend, to go to conferences, to do different meetings, etc. And there's sometimes, you guys, when I have to say no. It's not that they're not important. They are definitely important people to me, important conferences, important meetings, important speaking engagements, etc. But I have to say no right now so that I can focus on the things that are most important in growing my vision. Successful people are locked into their goals. Locked in. So I want to ask you, are you locked into your goals, or do you allow discouragement to come in and take you away from that goal? Do you allow the unimportant things in your life to distract you away from that goal? Successful people stay locked in to that vision. Successful people know that success is all about number 1, persistence, number 2, patience, and number 3, perspiration. So success is 3 parts. You have to persist in doing what you need to do to get to the one thing, that important goal, that important vision, that big dream that you have. It's also about being patient in the process as you do the work and you're perspiring, right? So hard work is part of the process, but so is persistence and so is patience. Successful people are accustomed to turning off their phone when they're not using it for their goal. That is something that I've had to learn in the last several years is when I'm laser focused on a task, my phone is off. My phone is off. It's actually I put it on do not disturb because if my family calls me, those are the calls that I pick up. But I keep my phone on do not disturb so that it keeps me from being distracted from the task at hand. Okay. If you want to be undistracted, put do not disturb on your phone. Okay. Very, very important. One of the biggest distractions for me, and this is something that I've caught myself doing, is I get distracted by notifications for social media. I get distracted for notifications for news, etc. Those are things that pop up on my phone. So put your phone on do not disturb when you are doing a task. So this is something really interesting. Most of us spend an hour and 40 minutes on social media. That's an average. Some of us spend a lot more on social media. And I'm not talking about social media to build your brand. I'm talking about social media to go and look at the notifications and like and comment on your friends, etc. We spend an hour and 40 minutes. That's 128 days wasted every 5 years. When I read that, I thought, oh my goodness, that's a lot of days. That's a lot of days in 5 years. So, what if you turned on do not disturb so you don't get those notifications to be distracted? One of my favorite leaders, and I love the way she thinks, is Mel Robbins. And she talks about how a 5-second decision changed the trajectory of her life. 5 seconds. And she has the 5-second rule. So our decisions on whether we are going to be distracted or whether we are going to stay with the task at hand can be made in 5 seconds. In 5 seconds. And so if you find yourself being distracted and going in a different direction, you can go, no, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm staying with the task at hand. Okay. So 5 second decisions matter in your life. When my kids were little, and we still watch movies that we watched when they were younger, but there is a movie called Up. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's hilarious. If you have seen it, moms who have watched that a bazillion times, you know what I'm about to talk about. There is a dog. I can't remember the dog's name. Maybe it was Buddy. I'm not quite sure. But there's a dog in Up, and the dog is constantly being distracted. He will be in the middle of a conversation, and all of a sudden, he will look the other direction and go, squirrel. Every time he sees a squirrel, he gets distracted in another direction, whether it's in the middle of a conversation or whether he is eating, whether he is playing with his family, whatever that is. When he sees a squirrel, he gets distracted from the task at hand. And so I want to invite you not to squirrel. Keep yourself from squirreling on a regular basis. So first of all, you have to identify what it is that distracts you. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. These are the things that will keep you distracted. And I just wrote down a few because obviously there are so many areas in which we can be distracted. These are some areas that I've caught myself being distracted. And so I want to share those with you because maybe you can identify with those. Number one, distraction is comparing. So let's go back to social media. Let's go back to a business maybe that you're in, or maybe your neighborhood. It's comparing ourselves to the success of others, comparing the way we look to others, comparing our wealth or what we don't have to what other people have. You guys, that is a distraction. And when you compare yourself to someone else, you are basically telling yourself an old story that you're not enough. And I want you to know right now that you are enough, and there's no reason for you to compare to anyone else. That's a distraction, and it's going to keep you from your greatest task, and that is your purpose. Each time you find yourself comparing, I want you to identify that as a squirrel, a distraction, and get back on task and say, no, I am enough. I don't need to look like that person to be successful. I don't need to have that the business the way that person does it to be successful. I'm going to do it my way. And success my way is enough. Okay? So comparison is a major distraction for a lot of us. Social media, like what I talked about, give yourself a time limit per day that you can be on social media to like your friends' pages or to comment on your friends or to build your social media. Give yourself a time limit where you are working, not where you're just being distracted. So if you are building a brand right now, you need to be on social media. That's an important piece of growing and building your business. But if you're just on social media just to scroll through and see what everybody's doing and watch all the reels, etc., give yourself a time limit to be on there. Otherwise, you can get lost for hours. Have you ever done that? I definitely have been lost for hours. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, it's 11 a.m. What have I done this morning so far? Okay. So social media can be a big distraction. Number 3, people's opinions. People's opinions are a huge distraction. I saw something on social media today when I was working, and it was somebody offered an opinion on social media that went against my personal opinion. Now, I have a couple of ways that I can handle that. I can allow that to distract me and wonder if my opinion is wrong, or I can move beyond it and trust my own opinion, knowing that I am created differently and I can have my own opinion. But sometimes other people's opinions, whether it's they tell us we can't do a business or we shouldn't do a business or we shouldn't wear things like that or we shouldn't dress like that or we shouldn't or we wouldn't or we couldn't, whatever it is, you guys, honest to goodness, unless you ask for someone's opinion, it's a distraction. Okay? It's a distraction to you. Number 4 are our phones. Phones are a big distraction. I talked about phones with Instagram, phones with phone calls, because when you're in the middle of a task, sometimes you'll get a phone call. I will tell you, if it's not your family and you're in the middle of a task, the phone call can wait. Okay, the phone call can wait. But the other distraction about our phone is answering emails. When we're fearful of doing the task at hand, or whether we are in this position of not feeling worthy, whatever, we can find ourselves being distracted in social media, in checking our emails, or picking up any phone call that happens to call at that particular moment. So it's just allowing ourselves to be distracted because we're feeling a certain way. Don't allow that, you guys. Emails, social media, phone calls, people's opinions, comparing ourselves, just realize for what they are distractions. Another major distraction is Netflix. And for those of you who watched the podcast, listened to the podcast, you know that that is my nothing box. Netflix, when I just want to do nothing, sometimes I go there and I may binge watch a couple of Netflix series. Who knows? Okay. I don't do it very often, but that is something that I allow my brain to rest, but it's not something that I use as a distraction. But sometimes we use TV as a distraction. So just pay attention to how you're using that. Another distraction. So if you're writing numbers, this is number 7, doing too much for others. We are called to help people. We are called to do for others, to serve others. But sometimes we allow other people's needs to be way ahead of ours, especially when it comes to building a business or being successful. It's a way for us to distract ourselves from the task at hand. So I want you to ask yourself, am I doing something right now for my kids that they can do for themselves? Am I doing something for my husband right now that he can do for himself temporarily while I'm building my business, while I'm laser focused on building my business and building my dream. Okay. I'm not telling you to forget your family or your husband. Please don't misunderstand me. But what I am saying is sometimes we can use their needs as a way for us to be distracted from the task at hand. And that's doing the thing that's going to get you to your goal the fastest, the best way. So, doing too much for others. So, this last one I want to talk to you about is, sometimes we get so distracted because we are trying to win people over. We are trying to get people to like us. We are trying to get people to notice us. We are trying to get people to say, affirm us in some way. And you guys, that is a major distraction. And I'm going to give you permission and tell you that not everyone is going to see your gifts, and that's okay. Your light is not for them. These people are a distraction, and they are put in your life for a reason for you to know that they are a distraction. But when we're constantly seeking someone else's approval, you guys, I promise you, you're never going to get it. They're not meant for you. Their gifts are not meant for them, and it's okay. So your light is supposed to shine in another area. So redirect yourself. That is such a huge distraction and a major letdown when we are so focused on getting someone else to pay attention to us and to like us. Okay, so here's some things, some really good tips that I want to give you on how you know that you're being distraction. So I want you to ask yourself, is what I'm about to do, does it help me reach my goals? So think about this. When I have my phone and I'm doing a task that's really going to help me grow my business, when my phone rings and it's a neighbor, is what I'm about to do, pick up this phone, is that going to help me reach my goal? If the answer is no, don't pick it up. Okay. It's a distraction right now. It's a distraction. Every time you choose something over your goal, you create a habit. And that habit doesn't serve you, and that habit gets stronger. So I want to say that again because this is super powerful. Every time you choose something over your goal, you create a habit. So distractions can become a habit. And that habit doesn't serve you, and it gets stronger. The more we are distracted, the stronger the distractions become, and the harder it is to refocus. Okay. So pay attention to the distractions. So, all of this to say, here's what I want you to know. I am not talking about always, always be working on your goal. I'm talking about knowing what you are doing for the day. I create 3 tasks that are important for the day, 3 tasks. And those are the things that I get done for the day. Once those are over, anything goes. Okay. That's how I work my businesses is I have 3 tasks at hand. And when those are done, then I can go on to other things. But we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all have the same 24 hours. It's how we spend those 24 hours, how we spend that time will determine where you end up. And I know that you are listening to this podcast because you want to end up in a better place. You know you were called for something better, or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. So monitor those distractions and don't allow those distractions to keep you distracted from the greatest thing that you're called to do. When I did an interview with Stuart and Francis a couple weeks ago, something that Francis said that was super powerful that has stuck with me, and I'm going to share this with you. He was talking about cultivating your garden. And you guys, I want you to know that every single one of us were given a piece of this world to cultivate. Every single one of us. God didn't skip any of us. We all have a plot that we are called to cultivate. And do you know what that means? It means that we are to grow that plot just like a harvest. So we're constantly planting seeds, we're watering, we're growing, and we're harvesting. And so if you are constantly being distracted, you are not able to plant the seed. You are not able to water your plot, and you will not be able to weed it so that you can have an amazing harvest. That's what you're called to do. I don't know what that looks like for you, but I do know. Here's what I do know, that every single one of us has a plot and we're called to love and serve. How you do that, I don't know. I'm doing this through a podcast, through a book, and through several businesses. How you're doing it, I'm not sure. You may practice medicine, you may be a dental hygienist, you may be a teacher, you may work in a department store, you may work at a grocery store. I don't know. But I know that we have the same purpose, and that is to cultivate the plot that we have been given. And so don't allow those distractions to get in your way. Stay disciplined for your destiny. Because to reach your highest self, you guys, don't waste any more time. Don't waste any more time. Stay focused on the task at hand and watch that garden grow and watch the harvest. The harvest is only going to come when you persist, when you are patient, and when you do the work through perspiration, right? So, thank you so much for being a part of this amazing community that has been created through this podcast. I'm excited for you to look into your life, just take a little glimpse into your life and say, okay, I can tell that I'm being distracted and I need to go back and take care of the plot that I've been given on this earth and grow to the harvest. So, you guys, if you have listened to this podcast and you have received some value from this, it would mean the world to me if you would rate and review this podcast. And the more you rate and review, the higher it goes up on podcast listings. So that would mean the world to me. And share it with your family and friends. If you would love to be a part of a private Facebook group, Deanna's Diamonds, you can go to deannaherron.net and just click on the little Facebook icon, and it will take you to the membership of Deanna's Diamonds, and I'll add you to that group. You guys are going to get the first sneak peek into Journey to Joy, my book that's coming out very soon. So, again, thank you for joining me. God bless you. And I look forward to talking to you all next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone.